Okay, so regular season, how'd you feel about your whole regular season there?
I coached a long time. This group's probably been the most impressive group in terms of what they went through. I think Petro said we went through something like 53 players. It's crazy, right, how many people went through here. And I probably couldn't even tell you the names of like 6 of them. I don't remember them. Some guys came in and came out one game at a time. They stuck together. I give the leadership group a huge measure of gratitude for what they did. It's like when you have that much change, and then like think about the influx of the college kids. When the people are coming in like that, you know, Aaron and Tim and Petro do a great job, you know, getting them acclimated. You know, the first thing that happens is a social change, right? Somebody's come in, they got to feel comfortable in their environment, and then you've got to give them some systems which allows them to play with structure, and then the expectations that we try to create are real high, and they've got to try and meet those. Like that's just the way we do it here, and to be able to come in and acclimate and then compete at a level that we need to compete at to win, to me is extremely impressive.
And then, early on, you had to deal with the loss of a couple players to the KHL, like Rob Hamilton and Jigloff, if I'm saying that right. Zarelioff. Yeah, I never got an official saying of it. So, and like you said, you had to move on from those type of situations. I mean, as an AHL coach, how frustrating is that?
I mean, it's my 7th year in the league, and it's 20 years apart. I was in Bridgeport in 2003, totally different league back then. But honestly, the departure of those 2D was kind of an omen because, see you, Rhino, because right after that, Anglin and Hunt get called up, so they went away. We never saw Anglin again. Hunt's played probably 2 games since then.
Mm-hmm.
And then the injury started with us. With Jacobs went out for a long stretch. Vandy went out. Like we were joking around. Like for like a 3-week stretch, we had 1D remaining from the original 9 that we started with in Texas. 1 for like a couple weeks. It was only Middleton.
I think that sounds about right.
He was only 1 for like, I don't know if it was 4 games. I don't know how many games we played in that time. But out of that, we always say. Injury and absence creates opportunity. So a guy like Nate Klerman, who's buried in the depth chart, and you don't forget, J-Mac was in our group too, as a send-down guy, and then he gets traded, right? So, we were going to see Jacob, I don't know, but he was in our mix. So that pushed Klerman down to Utah, and then he comes up, and I forget if he was up on that road trip. We went out to San Diego. We started that unbeaten stream. We went on for like 9-0-2, but like Klerman's done a really good job. And he's got so much better.
Yeah, and I was actually going to ask you about Klerman since he's now played 58 games with you, and that's a career high for everything. He's got career high goals, career high assists, and career high games. What do you think about his progress since how much he's grown and as a player and everything like that?
So we see it on a day-to-day basis, right? So, I mean, I know he's getting way better. And there are times when you'd see him in a rookie camp, you're like, is he ever going to figure it out? Whether it's decision making, using his skating, the efficient way to break out pucks and get involved in the offense. Because sometimes there was some question marks about that. But as he played, and he's a very coachable kid, very invested in himself as an athlete. He kept getting better and better. And I think that. Again, the reflection of that is when I have pro scouts come in that I've worked with in the past and say, oh my God, is that Klerman gotten better? Like he's worked his way into being a legitimate NHL prospect. And that's awesome for him. And, not to jump to questions, but, Wyatt Amont's the same thing. Like how much better has he gotten? He's always been, since he went through that baptism last year at this time where he struggled defensively with structure and technique, his offensive game is picked up. It may not be translated into a lot of points, but if you watch him at the offensive blue line, he's able to move laterally. He's got his stick cocked all the time to shoot pucks. So he's improved quite a bit as well.
And then with Wyatt Amont, I think that's going to translate to Meghan here. So
I did want to follow up on something you said on the broadcast on this recent road trip. It's similar. You talked about the baptism, and you watched like last year regular season. Amont gets in a couple games. definitely getting acclimated. But then with the absence of Janet Gilbert, he does become a pretty important player. You talked about some of the challenge of having these new faces at this time of year because you have to introduce them to a group anew and then take on the playoffs. I was just wondering, to follow up on that, how it's been now that they've gotten a few games under their belt with these college free agent additions.
Well, honestly, I didn't know. I couldn't remember some of the names, right? There's so many new guys coming in. I'm thinking about the 6 college players here in the last like 2 weeks. So Mayhew made 6. And, management makes decisions based upon what they have for depth. And, we can only control what we can control. So when they want these guys to play, and when there's a mandate from Chris and Kevin that they want to play, and we have to play them. And then the nice thing about our group is, like, Sampo doesn't play, Oli doesn't play, Scotty doesn't play, Kessie doesn't play, probably missing some other guys too. So those guys don't get to play, and then they're not jerks about it, so they try to help these kids make a smooth transition from college to pro. And when your team's doing that, it's a lot easier for the coaches to coach and not worry about that social transition.
And I wondered too, you talk about how much the staff helps to bring players on board. Is that like a speed run through training camp materials and a lot of video work one-on-one with players to introduce them to systems?
Yeah, I mean, Aaron and I have been together for 5 years. Tim, it's the second full year here. My assistant coaches are outstanding. Like, they are so dialed in their position of responsibilities and special teams to get the details driven home to the players, because I personally believe that we're able to win because our players understand the little details that allow us to win one-on-one battles and to create structure on the ice that makes the game somewhat predictable. And that can't be done, especially when there's a crash course with guys coming in from college with a different culture, different coaches, different style of play, without Aaron and Tim sitting down and going through everything we do as a team.
And I know this poses a lot of challenges to you as a coach, but I wondered, in looking at the success of Logan O'Connor and even Ben Myers this season, if that's something that you embrace as a challenge and even look forward to in ways working with these players.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about that. I love it, and I'm very confident that what we teach, they're athletic principles, right? So it's, for us, we've kind of fine-tuned it into these things have to be present to be successful, and whether it's a one-on-one offensively or defensively or puck protection drills. And so we call them events. These certain events happen every game, and they're predictable, whether it's a breakout with a D barreling down the wall against a wing's back, a defenseman handling a one-on-one in open ice or in small ice areas. Like, they happen every game multiple times. Hockey's not football, so you're not dialing plays up. But when you break the game down, there are certain events that happen over and over and over again. If your players are trained to manage those events properly, then we always say the game just slows down for them because they're comfortable in that. Because, like, if you think about it, hockey's a chaotic game, right? So if you can be comfortable in chaos, you can make plays. And that's kind of like the spirit of what we try and teach them. And I take pride in it when you see guys that are like struggling with it, like, what are you talking about, this or that? Like, talking about Galchenyuk and even Maltzy when he first got here. And there's a list in our office of, it's got to be 15 guys that have come here and then gone from here to the NHL, either directly to the NHL, the Avs are so stacked, but to another team, like say Sheldon Dries to Abbotsford, then he goes and he's there full time. AJ Greer goes to Utica, then he goes to the NHL full time. There's so many guys that we've had come through here that have done these things, and then they go to the NHL and they stay there. And then other guys like Jordan Gross, who had an okay offensive resume, and he comes here and he's the defensive player of the year. And I'm proud and I'm confident that our coaches do a great job making players aware of what they need to do to be successful, and then doing, I call it fertilizing work, just constantly being on them about these details, and then we watch them grow. And we just said Sakura came in and he was talking, and he had a career year last year and his points dipped this year, and he said, I made a mistake, I should have stayed here, right? So again, I'm proud of it, and I know it works, and it's not a one-man show here. I can't say enough about Aaron and Tim.
This will be my last one, but in looking at the way that you like to coach, would you say it's no accident that this type of player, this college free agent type who goes undrafted, is patient and follows this path to pro hockey that requires buy-in, basically, is where I'm getting
Yeah.
at with this. Compliments you as a coach too, that it's sort of this stylistic fit between that type of player and who you are as a coach.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, and I don't. It's not about me. It's about the staff and organization, because everybody here is totally invested, from Petro to Woody to Bryce to the coaches, everybody. So, we've had draft picks like tossed into trades, right? So we don't have 7 draft picks. Some teams have 10. So we need to stock up shelves with players, right? So the only way to do that in the absence of drafts is getting college guys. So, first thing that Kevin and CMAC say when we get these college players is that they're coming here because of you guys. Like, your reputation of developing players goes all the way back to JMAC, and they want to go where they're going to get developed. So they're not looking at the ads saying, I'll never play there. I've been here long enough now to know that they can just connect the dots between the Eagles and Dries, the Eagles and Greer, the Eagles and Graves, the Eagles and Timmons, the Eagles and Barron. So they know when players are going here. They may not stay in the organization, but they're getting trained, and they're going to go somewhere else and play, right? Like now, Sherwood's had a nice return to Nashville, and he's scoring. So they know that. So hockey's a small community, so it spreads. And it goes from the players to the agents to the general managers and then back to the players, right? So for me, the consummate compliment for our organization is when, forgetting the guy's name now, Sammy Malinsky. So he was one of the most sought after free agents out there. There were 32 teams recruiting him like you would a college athlete. And he made a decision to come here, even though the D is stacked, right?
Right.
So I talked to Mike Schaefer's coach, and he said, hey, I'm just telling you, Crow, he could have gone anywhere. He chose to go there because Jacob McDonald played with you guys, and he bounced around the American League, the East Coast League, came here, and then boom, he's another one that's full-time in the NHL. So they want to get trained in an environment where they know they've got some visibility to the NHL. And then I called Pat Firstweiler about Jason Poland, who was like maybe a top 5 college free agent out there, and he said the same thing. Like, and I don't know Pat. I mean, we know people. We have common friends, but he said the same thing, that he chose it. Could have gone anywhere because they want to go through your system and gives them the best chance to be successful in the NHL.
That's excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Coach.